Did you know that stretching is not really good for you? Did you know that stretching before events can actually diminish your performance? Today, we're going to talk about exactly just that. Make sure down below you hit the join button because every Saturday morning I'm having a live stream Q&A so that you can come on board and actually ask me questions and help clarify things. I'll show demonstrations as well as explain what I'm talking about so that you can get the most out of these videos. This is going to help these videos to be interactive for you so that instead of you having to travel to see me, you can actually learn and do these things at home. So hit the button down below, the join sign, and let's get started every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. live stream here. Welcome back to the Muscle Repair Shop. So you heard me right. I did say stretching is not good for you. And there's several articles that have been put out that have shown that. And let me clarify what I'm saying. Stretching, when you talk about static stretching, is actually not good for you. And the reason for that is that you're holding it too long, you're pulling the muscles too hard, and what you're actually doing is a form of strength training. And so when they do studies comparing athletes doing static stretching before their performance diminishes because by holding and pulling so hard, they've actually began to fatigue their muscles. And so the thing is that with static stretching, anytime you listen to anyone talking about stretching, listen to see how many times they talk about the mind or the brain's role with your muscles and stretching. You see, your muscles have a physical side, which is what's moving my hands now as I'm talking to you. And then there's an emotional side that I can be upset about something, I can worry about something, and my muscles will tighten on me. I can be in thought about trying to solve a problem. And how many times have you seen people at a computer, as they're working on their computer, working on an issue, the longer they're there, the closer their face gets to the screen. That's a form of creating tension and the front side of the body, which is going to show up as pain on the back side. So the scary part here is that most people in the healthcare world does not understand that because it was not something that was taught to them. In fact, I remember several years ago when I was at University of South Florida, this was 2017, 2018, in an anatomy class, when I started talking about the mind's role with the muscle, I couldn't believe that my professors had not ever heard about it. The PT students sitting in the room, the medical students sitting in the room, none of their professors had ever talked about that. How frightening is that? So if you think about it logically for a second, think about when you get tense, how people's shoulders may rise. They may grip their hands or they may grip their hips. And all of that is from just where you are mentally, but it affects you physically. So when people are dealing with things like chronic pain, yeah, the first couple of days you got up and your back was stiff or your knee hurt or your foot hurt or something like that, and you were able to move and it sort of eased up on it and you went on your way. But after a while, you started to notice this thing's not going away. And then you start to worry about it. Well, as you start to worry about that, now what happens is that those muscles continue to tighten on you and the pain then becomes worse and in some cases winds up damaging your body. It could be damaging a joint or a disc or pinching a nerve just because of the worry of why are you still in pain. So when we're talking about stretching, the pulling your muscles as hard as you can and to hold as long as you can, thinking that I'm lengthening my muscles, and we hear many practitioners talk about lengthening your muscles, that then becomes a chore. And as it does that, as you are pulling those muscles harder and harder, especially if you're experiencing any kind of discomfort, the brain then goes into the fight or flight response and starts to contract the muscles, which is really creating a strength training environment versus a stretching environment. So where most practitioners get it wrong is they talk about lengthening the muscles. Well, your muscles are attached on both ends, so they're never going to get any longer than they naturally are. What's happening is that from every thought you have, every feeling that you have, and every action that you do, you're tightening those muscles. And as you tighten those muscles, think of that rubber band that I've talked about before, where you're twisting the rubber band. As you twist that rubber band, it gets shorter and shorter, and then pulling it apart becomes more difficult, versus if I take it all the way back out, if I take the tension out of it, now stretching it becomes easy. So the idea with the muscles is the same thing. Every thought, every feeling, every action, you're tightening and twisting that muscle just like twisting that rubber band. When we use the mind then to start to relax the mind, the muscles then can relax, and when they do, they start to release. The reason they grip is not because they don't like you. The reason they grip is because you got something on your mind, or you are afraid of something, or you're worried about something, and they will grip to stop you hurting yourself. And that's the thing to remember. So when people talk about stretching is not good for you, what they're talking about is static stretching. Now, there is a thing called dynamic stretching, which is a great warm-up before an event. I mean, you can skip around, do jumping jacks, run in place, walk around the event center or whatever before a performance, and that's fine, because what you're doing is you're pushing warm blood into the muscle tissue, causing the muscle tissue to be more pliable, which causes the brain and the body to relax. That's okay. But what they're talking about not working is the static stretching, and that is true. The other part of static stretching is that they're trying to stretch groups of muscles. They treat the calves as if it's one muscle. I mean, how many times you see someone sit on the floor and they reach with their legs straight out in front of them, grab their toes, pull their head toward their toes, and they just sit there and hold and hold and hold and hold, and they think that they're stretching their hamstrings. What they don't understand is that in that position, you're having to use the hip flexors, which are the muscles on the front of your thighs, and your biceps as you pull your upper body towards your toes. So that's a strength training part of it. Then on the back of your legs, you're pulling 4 calf muscles, 3 hamstrings, and 4 rotating muscles, actually 5 rotating muscles in your hip, all at the same time, trying to get all those muscles to release. And you can just imagine how frantic the brain gets at that point. So just that simple stretching, we've all seen people do that in the gym. We've all seen people do that anywhere that there's activities running around. Somebody sitting on the ground, legs straight out in front of them, grabbing their toes and pulling their head towards their toes. They don't realize how much strength training they're doing in that. And yet they call that stretching. So imagine you've done all that work on that one stretch before you go and perform on a court or on a field, your muscles will be fatigued. So keep that in mind, that when you're stretching, it's as much mental, if not more, than it is physical, and you'll be safe with that. So for now, don't forget to subscribe down below, because we want to keep getting our subscribers. Also, don't forget to join down below our membership, so that you can become part of the live Q&As on Saturday morning, so that you can ask me questions. We can go more in depth with what I'm talking about in these videos. Make sure we clarify what you understand about it so that you can do the right thing. But for now, see ya. I hope you enjoyed this last video. Be sure to click on the video here to my left and enjoy.